Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, since there's a lot of shenanigans going on YouTube recently, especially, I just want to say this with Alex Christoforou channel, because not everyone reads my community page, which I highly recommend because I put some other videos there too, recommend videos. So Alex channel got frozen for unrequested vacations that YouTube gave him. You find him on Rumble and the locals, and on Duran, you can find all the links. But today I am joined with Ashala Yardley again. Welcome back, Ashala.
Hi, Anya. Wonderful to be here.
And I forgot to mention, because of this intro, therefore, I would like you to join my mailing list, because it's just the easiest way to stay in touch. You know, just in case. Better protect yourself. So, you know, Ashala, what I would like to ask you today, I want to ask you something that you've mentioned in your video, your latest video. I want to know what happened in Canada. You said something about something happened. Was it with the banks or ATMs?
It was with the Rogers network, which, as I understand it, connects with all of the debit cards all over the country. Like, it's the network that provides the service that allows the debit card machines to work. And it was shut down for, I believe it was 24 hours. So, you know, it starts off, you go into your store or you go to pay for your gasoline at the pump or whatever, and it says, oh, you have to use either a credit card or cash. And then you realize when you're talking with people that it's all over the whole country, the entire country.
Wow.
Yeah.
So people had no access to cash.
People had no access. So that's right. They had to go into the bank. And of course, that prompted a bank run. So I had friends that went in and were actually trying to take out larger sums of money. And they had varying degrees of success with that, depending on which bank and how much they were taking out. But, you know, just going into a store that I went into, what I heard was, yeah, you can try going into your bank to get out cash, but if you don't want to use a credit card, but you may not be able to get it because people have been saying that the banks don't have the cash on hand to meet the demand. So it was, what I saw when I did cards on it was a one trial to see how people react. And, you know, again, like I've said many times over the last several months, I don't see these things, you know, we always have that anxiety that they're just going to pull the plug, that the banks are going to collapse and everything will be, but I feel like they don't have the actual infrastructure to deal with the ensuing chaos of that in the way that would, you know, be manageable, basically. So I think it's going to be more of, we're going to start seeing, I actually got this download this morning, that we're going to start seeing a scenario where, like, I went to actually send an e-transfer to someone last night after 10 o'clock p.m. and never before have I seen my bank say, oh, if you send your e-transfer after 10 p.m., it's not going to arrive till like 3 a.m. the next day, but it'll be removed from your account. So it's going to be sitting in limbo land between those hours because of whatever the way their system is now set up. And I think we're going to start seeing where it's like, oh, you can only access or you will have to wait, you know, you're going to like try to do a transfer or try to take out money, and then it's going to be, oh, you have to wait 24 hours or you have to wait 48 hours or you have to wait. Like, they're just going to keep extending that, and we're going to get used to, okay, now you have to wait. It's going to become the norm. So this is how they do it. So people don't go, what? Like, you know.
So they're gonna limit the time of having an access to your money.
That's what I perceive is the natural unfolding of this, or the unnatural unfolding of this, is it makes sense. So a trial like this to see, you know, how much people panic and also how up in arms they get. Like, it's already blown over. No one's even talking about it. This is a pretty big deal, right?
Yes.
And now among people day to day. No one's even talking about it anymore. It's like just happened a couple of days ago and it's already forgotten. So they want to see how much lingering effect is going to happen if they pull the plug. And so now they're like, okay, now we can make them, oh, well, we're having trouble with the systems, or we're shifting into this, connecting with an international monetary system or whatever. And there are going to be all these reasons why there's delays. There's going to be more and more delays. That's what I see.
But then we really don't know how many people, because of this, even though they don't talk about it, they have withdrawn their funds from the banks. So
Yes.
Ultimately, the more frequent this will be, the more people will pour their money out.
That's correct. That is correct. Mm-hmm.
So that's not good for the banks. But can I just say before I forget, I had this remembrance of something very important, and I want to share this with you, Ashala, and the audience. So I was thinking about all of those plans, okay, they have. The World Economic Forum, the clauses, clauses, and his graduates and all of this, and they have these plans, they have the plan, and yes, they are speeding this up, they are pushing more and more, and I think the reason for it is because as they can predict and time travel and use certain devices, etc., yada yada, whatever, they cannot predict one most important thing, one factor, because you can't predict human reaction. You simply can't.
Absolutely. Yes.
You can't. So you can consider, like in a chess play, right? You can consider maybe the opponent will do that, but you fully never can predict how human will react.
That's right. That's right. And we are ingenious creatures, really. We have so much ingenuity. Like we can turn on a dime and go in a new direction. Like we really are created to be spontaneously responsive to life. And especially if we can get up out of that 3D black and white thinking, it's like, you see these challenges ahead of you, and it's literally like I'm just pulling cards as we're talking about this, and it's like we're going to become our own banks. We're going to, like, it's turning the tables on, they have to go slow. They have to, or it's going to be too big of a beast for them to wrangle. So as they're going slow, those of us that are awake and actually not fearful and seeing the full spectrum of potential, we're going like, oh, well, wait a minute, we could do this. Now we could do that. And all these new ideas are springing up. I mean, oh my gosh, 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups. It's just the right incentive to get us motivated to create new systems. And it's like, as their systems are going wonky, new things are being implemented, new strategies. People are so ingenious.
Yeah, they cannot predict us. That's the whole point. So cannot. No matter what, there is some percentage that will go with them, let's say, or fall into that. But
yes.
That is one thing. And the second thing, I said to myself, let's look at this like really from the far away, if we can place, and say, and this is not religious now, this is the spiritual approach. What is God? The source is light, is love, and is truth. So if we say God wins, that means truth wins. So it's just the hard word in English, inevitable.
Inevitable, yes. Yes.
We're gonna win this. We're gonna win this. It's just not gonna be easy ride, but we're gonna win this.
But even the whole idea of it's a hard ride or an easy ride, it's like, can we see this as an exciting experience? Like, I certainly see so much innovation is springing up among people who are awake. Like they're getting curious about different ways of going about things. And if you know, there's going to be a grieving process. There's going to be a, wow, it's hard to let go of some of the things that you thought were really providing you security and a sense of belonging and a sense of comfort and fulfillment. But if you look a little below the surface of that, was it really doing that? Was it really offering that? And this gives us an opportunity to say, hey, you know, the gloves are off now. We're just going.
March on, march on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely.
So I wanted to share with you because that helps us, that spiritual approach helps us to have a different understanding and strengthening of our spirit. Ashala. Let's look into Justin Trudeau. How long, I know, I'm so sorry. How long people will have to put up with him, and what will come after? That's my question.
Okay, let's have a look.
I'm sorry for this question.
Okay. It's okay.
But everyone has its time, right? Everyone has its time.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it might sound a little bit irresponsible, but I already see him gone. Like, I don't even give it a whole lot of attention anymore. It's so, that word you said, inevitable. You know, when I was really this morning, I was having these insights coming in about, you know, it's that old cliche, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Like when those, I don't even want to call them people necessarily, who are playing in that realm, they get taken down by their own machinations. It's like they get consumed by their own world. It's like a
Babel tower. It's like a Babel tower in the Bible.
Yeah. Well, I mean that, and it's also, you know, it's almost like cannibalistic in a way. Like they devour, you know, they devour each other. They just, there's no, not safe in that realm. You're going to get affected by what you're participating in is going to affect you. And in a way, it's like leaving them. Also, a powerful insight came in a reading a few months back, which was like, this whole thing that's happening is like a tree that's been hit by lightning or something. It falls over, and that's just consumed with hornets and wasps and red ants and horrible things. And you know, if it lands in your garden, you're just going to create a wide berth around that and leave it for 50 years to just decompose and do its thing. Like, stay out of its way, just create kind of like a safe space for that to decompose, because that's what this energy is. It's a decomposing energy.
I would burn it.
Well, but the thing is, if we burn it, we can create a response from nature that brings bigger. You see what I mean? We create then a reaction from nature because we've taken an extreme action, because we're basically saying, I'm too afraid to have that close to me. Well, if you give it a wide berth, it's not going to hurt you. So that's kind of how I am with a lot of what they're doing, is acknowledging it. Like, you need to know it's there, and you need to know where not to step. You need to know how to protect yourself from that. Give yourself a wide berth. But at the same time, it's going to do its thing and decompose in its own time. And the more we get involved and try to hurry that process, we could make it worse. It's like leaving it to its.
But he's still creating issues and hardships. And I want to know when this will end, and the next person that is replacing, how this will go for Canada.
So it feels like there's a transition in place, and I get even in the next couple of months, like, yeah, maybe 2 months, 3 months at the most, there is a transition, and it's like he's going somewhere. He's traveling somewhere. He's
going
leaving
to
the
Kiev,
country.
to Kiev, to Zelensky.
He's leaving the country. Like, and that feels like it could be more long-term, like that he could literally leave. Yeah. So, but then of course we get into, is that even him? What I feel like is important to focus on is that he has more or less served the purpose of their agenda, and his power to actually really do damage here in Canada, even though they're still playing the shenanigans, the power is waning big time. Like almost they're saying daily, it's his, the confidence is going down, 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 down. So it's almost like there's a few different ways that they could play this out. One is that he could become very ill and not able to continue to serve. The other one is that he leaves for some reason. Maybe it's that, he makes a big deal out of being threatened and he has to leave or go into hiding somewhere. But the bigger story that I see here is that his influence is going down and we are more or less protected from the larger damage, like the most of the damage is in the past.
Okay, that's a good news.
Yeah,
that's a good news. So even the next will kind of follow the same agenda. It will not be as crazy.
Let me have a look at the next. Oh boy, they're really, they're really having to strategize. And I think what's happening with those global elite agendas is they're having a hard time, like exactly what you said earlier, because we are very unpredictable and they're having a hard time knowing which one of their strategies is going to be the best. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like they've got ideas of several different possibilities of who's going to step in. And it's like they're fighting amongst themselves, like which one is the best situation. And they can't make an easy decision because we are changing constantly in how we're responding to things. So that's the good news, folks. Keep changing. Keep them guessing. Keep them like unsure. And then, eventually they have to play these hands. And this is where you get where people are now saying, oh my gosh, I mean, you listen to these politicians speak and it's just like they're saying not rubbish. Like they're not addressing any questions. It's just like a big charade. And we've seen through that for a long time, but more and more of the, common mainstream people are going, this is ridiculous. Like they're just fancy dancing around. So, because they're not sure what to do. Like if they had a solid plan, it would be more obvious and they'd be more clear about it, but they're not. So that is also a good sign.
It's a clown world.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
So Ashala, are you looking now or are you looking
at
that?
I'm ready to do the next question.
Okay, so I have two more. The first one is something I cannot confirm, but I came across this actually on Alex's channel. And I would like to know if this is true, and if that is true, what is the outcome? So apparently Ukraine has sent its gold to be stored in Poland for the safety and security, all the precious metals. I would like to know what will happen to it if that actually happened, if they sent that gold, which I'm not sure, this is not confirmed, but if that happened, what will happen to that gold? Let's say that this is true news.
Well, there's definitely gold. It's all in the middle here. So I'm getting that the Vatican has a part in this.
There we go again.
There we go again. Yeah. So
Yeah, Poland, Polish Church.
yeah. So it feels like that's what it's about. It's connected to the Vatican having a hold of those resources. And I'm wondering if it hasn't been that way already. Like, I'm wondering if this is more about really like that it feels like there is a lot stored there already anyway, or under their charge. And it almost seems as though it's just trading hands. Like, I don't know that the actual physical gold has been moved. It's more like it's in the hands, or it's under the control of. So whatever aspect of the Ukrainian national security that had control of that, it feels like it's shifted into another operation that has control of it. But very interesting that I'm seeing, it feels to me like we're talking about larger amounts being stored somewhere further north, and that takes me to Russia. So it feels like we're talking about not as much gold as they want us to believe. Yeah. And that it feels like Russia has much greater reserves than what,
But
they have their own internal sources, like incredible resource. Yeah.
But that particular gold that Ukraine apparently gave to Poland, this is what you're saying? This is also, so how is this in Russia if they gave it to Poland?
No, it's not in Russia, but I'm saying the amount that they're projecting is being moved around or being traded into different hands is less than what they're making it out to be. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty much like everything else with this situation there.
Yeah, it's more of it's a bluff to some extent. It's more of a bluff is what I'm seeing.
Okay, my last question is, will United States go into war with China using Taiwan as an excuse?
That's a very clear question.
Thank you. Finally, right? I came to the point to ask clear questions.
Okay, so it is very possible that will be a declaration that is made. Whether it's actually going to come into fruition and play out in entirety, I feel like it's, because it looks like the declaration is made, but they can't enact it fully in the way that again, I get more bluffing. I get that they're saying they're going to do it, but it doesn't translate into what we would know as a war. It doesn't become, something happens before they can move in that direction. Something else shifts. So again, we could hear, just like you in your, amazing interview with Scott there recently, where they're saying NATO is saying, yeah, we're going to deploy all these these troops, these standing armies and everything. And it's like, okay, you can say that, but to actually make that happen under the current global scenario is very, it's a real different story. So in terms of the declaration, it feels like they say it, but they don't actually fulfill it, either because they don't have the means to do it in actuality, or because something else shifts and makes this non-operable. I feel like it becomes non-operable. Yeah. So
and then what happens with this declaration? It's like hanging there.
We have an opportunity at that point. It does bring more of a desire to have everybody on the global stage come together in discussion, because that's a serious maneuver. So it brings everybody out of the woodwork, this world card, all the people coming from the four corners to have this, kind of roundtable discussion, so to speak. It really speeds up the desire for all the world leaders to come together. But, we know at that point that could go various different ways. Does that speed up their one world government agenda? Or does that open up the possibility for more of the positive operations to start steering things in a new direction? I prefer to think of it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when we think about that, the dark force energy, and I really do see it waning, but it's not, again, same as these big shifts that in a way have been planned by the higher ups. It's like I've always seen the dark force energy as more like a parasitic energy that comes in and cleans up when things need to shift, when things need to be decomposed and turned into something new. The dark force energy does a good job of that. So they're not going to, we want them to finish doing that job. And even though they're diminishing, it's gradual, and that's better for the system. That's a healthier way for a system to decompose than it doing something extreme to. So we're still going to be contending with them for some time, but we're so winning.
But you said the dark side is winning. It's not necessarily, can I just ask you, it's not like it's winning, it's like purifying.
No, yeah, it's waning. I said waning.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, okay. So it's slowly losing power.
Okay.
Slowly losing power and getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's better that transition happens slowly, even though you can say, yeah, well, people are still suffering, but there's still going to be, even if it happened instantly overnight, like poof, there would still be a lot of suffering in reorganizing our whole reality. Like that's a huge job to, otherwise we're just going to create that same paradigm again. If we stay, we have to evolve, which is part of this decomposition. So they're helping us evolve because they're forcing us. So just like this declaration of war brings everybody together in a more serious way. I mean, not that it isn't already serious, but I do really feel like in some ways, one of our greatest challenges in this time is complacency. Like people just, it's like this rollover and just pretend it's not happening on every level. Like, I'm even like, I feel like we're all guilty of this on some level. Like we're either self-sacrificing or throwing ourselves into the front line, or it is often easy to kind of just say, oh, well, too much to deal with right now. And that's, I believe, why it needs to happen gradually. There needs to be this, we deal with scenario one at a time just like your amazing channel is bringing out all this information, you're looking at specific scenarios and getting a lot of, really good factual information about those scenarios. That's how we can digest what's going on the planet. So this war, the declaration of war with China, is going to be another one of those things. It's going to open it up so people understand what is the history of China. I mean, there's such an incredible history with China that most people don't even realize. Like, I've done a lot of study about the history of China, and it makes so much more sense when you understand the position that China has been in,
the ancient wisdom, Ashala, the ancient
well,
wisdom.
and also the century of humiliation. There was a century of humiliation in China where the West really put them in a very, very compromised position. So, once these things get brought, these things need to be looked at globally. We all need to understand more about the politics and the history of all of these scenarios. So bringing something like this is going to get everybody let's look into, how did this happen? Where did this get started? Or, because there's a lot of projected kind of assumptions made about these different countries. And if you don't know more of the background and the history, which is, what you've been doing around the Ukraine, around Poland, around NATO, around, Eastern Europe and Russia, and you've been bringing forward the information. This is what's been going on. We need to know the backstory. So this backstory is very, very important to come to the global stage now. And that is what this declaration is going to offer us, an opportunity to really seriously look at this now. I mean, it's very sad to imagine that any life will be lost. And I also see that people have come here with soul contracts to be part of this change, to be part of this awakening, to be part of bringing forward this information, and we all have to play our part in that. Whenever our time comes, we're going to make our own sacrifice in whatever way. But I do feel that this is ultimately going to clear more of that old dark system and agenda off the planet. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this. And it's amazing. It's so great you said all of this, because it really took me to the closing sentence now. And I'm realizing more and more that this choices our souls are making right now, we are choosing this life, or we are choosing the eternal life in a different way. This is very, very short experience right now.
It is.
And with every decision we are making now, we are choosing for our soul. We literally are choosing for our souls. And I have to remind this myself too. And I look at those elites, I'm like, they just chosen this instant gratification in this very limited time frame. And then they will come back again, repeating the same over and over. It's a loop, in this loop, like a hamster.
Or even a better case scenario is that, we will help them transmute that, and they won't, that will be healed. That will be transmuted and healed ultimately.
Wow, that's heavy.
I have a dear friend here who does a lot of spiritual shamanic work. He's an Indigenous person, and he's a counselor and a healer. And he said that he had a dream a couple of nights ago that one of the, and he feels, he just has understood. He's been red pilled for decades, and he knows what's going on. And he's gone through a lot of inner turmoil to face and, just know that information, as we all have. He said he actually got a dream where someone from those upper echelons came to him humbly saying, I want to be forgiven. I want to be healed. And he opened the door and brought them in for healing in the dream. So,
yes, this is
when the moment is, that is the biggest.
It's a level of maturity of the soul. Huh?
And a trust that this is not good or bad, right or wrong. This is evolution, and there's
Mhm.
beautiful things going to emerge from this. We're shifting away from, you know, like the dark age. If you look at the Vedic understanding about the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, and the iron age, and you know, we're heading back into the golden age, and the golden age thankfully lasts longer. The dark age is the shortest one, and we're at the end of it. So we're coming back out into the beautiful light. And it's a painful process because we almost have to transmute a lot of that dark energy as we come out. We have to, you know, just like somebody who's gone through trauma, in order to be healed, they have to transmute a lot of that trauma. So in a way, these, you know, declarations of war, even though that is scary as all get out, and we know there's suffering is going to ensue from that, we can also see that, you know, if you look in this card, the light that is shining in the distance is the new dawn. It's the new, like that golden age rising. And we have to go through the completion of the dying process. Everything has to be like turned back into compost so something new can grow. So they're helping us by moving that process along. As long as it doesn't happen too fast, because then that's a big destruction. And that's why I say, just see this as a gradual, long range experience, that as long as we are staying open and in that 5D reality and not getting into black and white 3D, we're going to see ways to grow in integrity and beautiful ways to create new options from this dark, rich, composted soil. Yeah.
Thank you so much for today.
You're welcome, Anya.
Lots of gratitude, love, and blessings to you, Ashala. Everyone who hasn't met Ashala yet, you find all the links down below the video to Ashala's website. You can contact her for the reading and see when she has time available. And
Which
you can
I do in the next,
You do?
I have
Okay.
spaces open up next week and the week after. Yeah,
So links are down below. You can just click on it, and Ashala's YouTube channel as well. She posts videos on every Sunday. And yes, I love talking to Ashala. So this is my purest joy when we connect. Thank you so much for today. Thank you, Ashala.
You're welcome.